right, let's talk about academic writing. You know that feeling like you're stuck in this complicated maze and you just can't find your way out? Well, today we're going to turn that maze into a map, a really clear, simple map that's going to help you write with a ton more confidence. Let's dive in. I mean, have you ever just stared at a pile of sources, totally overwhelmed by all the different arguments, the formatting rules, the citations? Yeah, if that's you, you're definitely not alone. It's a super common feeling, but I promise, by the end of this, you're going to have a clear path forward. So here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll figure out why academic writing feels like a maze in the first place. Then, we're going to shift our mindset by comparing it to business writing, which is very different. After that, we'll get into a simple framework, cover the rules you absolutely can't break, lay out a step-by-step plan, and then wrap it all up with the key takeaways. So, seriously, why is this so tough sometimes? Well, it's because postgraduate schools have a really high standard. And if you're new to it, or maybe coming back to school after a while, those expectations can feel pretty intimidating. But here's the secret. It's all about understanding what this kind of writing is trying to do. Exactly. So before we even get to the how-to, we have to get the why right. Honestly, the key to nailing academic writing is getting your head in the right space and understanding that its purpose is completely different from the kind of writing most of us do every day at work. And this, right here, is the absolute core of it. Business writing is all about getting things done. It's about solving a problem, making a decision, driving action, right now. Academic writing, that's about exploration. It's about sharing what you've learned and joining a much bigger, ongoing conversation among scholars. Let's break that down a little more. Just look at the audience. In business, you're writing for people who need the bottom line fast. But in academia, you're writing for experts, professors, other researchers who are expecting you to go deep. And that one difference changes everything, from the tone you use to the structure of your paper. And this quote from Morgan Housel, it just nails the point perfectly. In the real world, you have to be incredibly brief. But in school, you're actually expected to take your time, build a detailed case, and really flesh out your argument. They're just two totally different games with different rules. Okay, so now that our heads are in the right space, let's build a solid foundation. Because even though the goals are different, the principles of just good writing, they're pretty universal. And we can boil them down to what I call the 4 C's. Think of this as your go-to toolkit for any kind of writing. First up is clarity. And look, this one is just non-negotiable. If your reader has no idea what you're trying to say, then nothing else matters. It's about using clear, precise language. Don't say utilize when the word use works just fine. The goal here isn't to sound smart, it's to be understood. Next, we've got coherence. This is all about flow and structure. A coherent paper takes your reader on a logical journey. I like to think of it as building a bridge. Every sentence connects to the next one, and every paragraph builds on the one before it, creating this smooth, easy-to-follow path for your reader. Then there's conciseness. Now, even if you're writing a long paper, every single word needs to earn its spot. You gotta cut the fluff. When you're concise, you're respecting your reader's time, and frankly, it makes your arguments feel so much sharper and more powerful. And finally, consistency. This is all about keeping your style, your tone, and your formatting the same all the way through. Little things, right? Like if you write out for example once, don't switch to e.g. later. This kind of consistency is what makes your work look polished and professional, and it really builds your credibility. Okay, so we've got the mindset and we've got our foundational principles. But in the world of academic writing, there are some really high-stakes rules, the kind that are absolutely non-negotiable. So what are they? This is where we get serious. We're talking about referencing and plagiarism. And this isn't just a matter of style points. This is about academic integrity. Getting this wrong, even if you don't mean to, can have really serious consequences. So what is plagiarism exactly? Well, here's a great definition. It's using anyone else's work, their words, their ideas, their data, as if it were your own. And I want you to pay very close attention to that word unintentionally, because not knowing the rules is never an excuse. To make sure you're always on the right side of this, you have to cite pretty much everything. That means direct quotes, of course, but also ideas you've paraphrased, even images, data, and get this, even your own work from a past assignment. So what's the golden rule? It's simple. When in doubt, cite it. And don't for a second think no one's checking. They are. Universities all use powerful software like Turnitin. It scans your paper and compares it against a gigantic database of pretty much everything ever written. It's a serious system designed to keep things fair. So, how do you give credit? You use a referencing style. Now, the two you'll probably run into the most are Harvard and Vancouver. Harvard uses the author's name and the date, and it's great for essay-type work. Vancouver uses a numbering system, which is really common in more technical fields because it keeps the text looking clean. Okay, we know the mindset, we know the principles, and we definitely know the rules. So, how do you actually do the work without getting totally overwhelmed? Let's walk through a super practical step-by-step plan that can turn a mountain of research into a finished paper. I love this process because it's so systematic. You start just by reviewing your notes to pull out the main arguments. Then you stop and think. You look for where the experts agree and where they disagree. And it's right there, in that gap, that your own argument starts to take shape. Once you pick a side, you build a simple outline, you plug in your evidence, and then the last step is just to fill in the blanks with your own analysis. See? It turns writing from this big, scary mystery into a manageable, logical job. Okay, let's bring this all home. The whole goal here is to stop thinking of academic writing as this painful chore you just have to survive. Instead, I want you to see it as a really powerful skill that you're building for your future. So here it is, your map. First, remember the purpose. You're exploring ideas, not just trying to get something done. Second, master those 4 C's: clarity, coherence, conciseness, and consistency. Third, always respect the rules and cite your sources. And fourth, follow a process. That's it. That's your path out of the maze. And I want to leave you with this incredible quote from Cara Blackburn at MIT Sloan. Clear writing means clear thinking. It's so true. Writing isn't just about putting your thoughts on paper. It's the very process you use to figure out what you actually think. The act of writing well literally forces you to think well. And that leaves us with one last question to chew on. Is all this academic writing stuff just a chore you have to get through to get a grade? Or is it actually valuable training for becoming a clearer, sharper thinker? Maybe mastering this isn't just about school. Maybe it's about upgrading your brain for the rest of your life. Something to think about.